Steve Young is pure aura. When you're looking at him on that stage with Jeff Garcia, with Alex Smith, Brock Purdy, even Matt Mayoko, he's just sitting there, chill, cool. He's got the kicks on. But what's even better about this whole situation is the story he tells about how Bill Walsh tricked him in order to come over to the San Francisco 49ers, because as you know, and he'll explain in a little bit more detail, he was with the Tampa Bay Bucks and it was a disaster. Just everything was going to hell all the way around him. There's nothing positive about the situation that he was currently in. Nothing about what he was doing would say, oh, that's a future Hall of Famer right there. But Bill Walsh, and we know the legendary head coach and the guy behind the scenes for the West Coast offense, all that kind of stuff, pulling the strings, doing things, and really changing the entire trajectory for the 49ers franchise, right? Because you're going to hear from Steve Young right here as he tells the story about how Bill Walsh tricked him. But it's like, if you think about it, the repercussions that followed from this little, do we call it a fib? I don't know. You tell me when you watch Steve Young describe how Bill Walsh really recruited him to the San Francisco 49ers. Take a listen to Steve Young's story right here.
Built off the back of what Bill did, so I want that to be clear to everybody, because the story I'm about to tell you might diminish some of the things that I just said. But he had pitched me because I was dying in Tampa. It was rough, you know. It was if you need a lot of help to be good in the NFL, and I don't care who you are, you need a lot of help. And when he offered the chance to come, he told me that Joe had 2 back surgeries and just had the last one, you know, a week ago. It was in the off season, and he doesn't think I don't know how he's going to recover. And I said, well, I'm not happy to hear that. That's a terrible thing. But if there's an opportunity like that, I'll take it. You know, I'd love to jump in. And so I jumped in, and I just remember the first OTA practice, or the training camp practice, I went out early and got dressed, and I'd never met Joe my whole life, and obviously admired everything he'd done, and so right, the last guy comes running out, and the practice about to start, and Joe comes running out, and the first thing I think is, he doesn't look hurt. I turned to Coach Bill, and I'm like, Bill, he's not hurt. And he did this to me many times through the years, but he went just like, he's famous for this, like. So off we went, and then that was the day that Ted Walsh, the old equipment manager, thought he'd play a joke on me, because I didn't have cleats that day, and so he gave me a pair of cleats. I put them on, and then he told Joe, "Hey, I gave him a pair of your cleats, so go out there and make fun." And so Joe, the first time I met him, I said, "Hey Joe, nice to meet you." He goes, "Nice cleats." And I looked down and I'm like, oh, that was a mess. It was a mess, and it stayed a mess for a long time.
Bro, we had Bill Walsh hitting the Bosa before Bosa was hitting it. I honestly, listening to this story in real time, again, listening to this panel and being able to hear these guys tell their story, their perspective, how it went down, it's just like, man, like, this is why I love football. Like, being able to hear these kind of behind the scenes, like, we know that Steve and Joe, like, had kind of a tumultuous kind of relationship. He's talked about it recently, like, talking about how that was a awkward quarterback room, but yeah, we still won championships and we still got it done. Because obviously, you know, Joe Montana was the guy, and Steve Young signaled a change and that he could potentially be out the door. And that's exactly what happened. Joe Montana got traded because they had Steve Young on the roster. But again, listening to kind of Steve play it all back and just basically listening to how Bill Walsh was just like, hey, Joe Montana is coming off 2nd back surgery. Don't know what it's going to be like and how that's all going to work. You should come over here and you can really find some success. And then to later on find out that Joe Montana is fine. And then Joe Montana starts playing pranks on him and the equipment manager and like, yeah. And again, it's like everything that we've heard, it's like that was an awkward situation. Like, I think Steve really thought he had a good chance to play. And obviously, Joe Montana was winning Super Bowls and he seemed healthy. And so he was just destined to be a backup. And there's a really cool situation where these guys go through all their stories, and I'll continue to post their stories because it's fascinating. Some of the details that Alex Smith, Jeff Garcia, Steve Young have given about their careers. But one of the biggest takeaways from it all, while Brock Purdy is sitting right there, is that all of these guys found success way later in their careers. Brock Purdy is 24 and already made it to a Super Bowl. And when you're just kind of contextualizing and listening to all these guys' story, like we're listening to a Hall of Famer, we're listening to Alex Smith, who went on to have a Pro Bowl career and made some, like, really elevated his game even beyond the San Francisco 49ers. And then Jeff Garcia, who was the franchise record holder for yards in a season, a Pro Bowler himself. And they're all talking about their, like, all three of them didn't have success right away. And then you're looking at Brock, Mr. Irrelevant, and you're like, this guy is 24. We're looking at a Hall of Famer, Pro Bowlers, and he's found, and Brock is a starting Pro Bowl quarterback at the age of 24. And you're just like, wow. It really kind of puts it into perspective, like, of how much those guys had to struggle to get where they are, because, Jeff Garcia had to go to the Canadian League. And then he's like, I was a 29-year-old rookie in the NFL. Alex Smith had, 7 years in the league before Harbaugh came around, and he was able to turn his career around. And then you had, Steve Young start with Tampa and then go to the 49ers and then back up Joe Montana for 4 years before he got his shot. And it's just like, it's pretty interesting. Again, phenomenal event. And the stories that came out of this were absolutely fascinating. So like I said, if you enjoy these, I'm going to keep chopping them up. So stay locked in to the channel, turn that notification bell on, smash that like button. Let me know what you guys think about Bill Walsh pulling the strings and pulling a fast one on Steve Young in order to get him to come over and play for the San Francisco 49ers, and ultimately ended up backing Joe Montana for 4 more years. And clearly, Steve was welcomed in a great way. So let me know what you guys think about this story. Let me know in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.